Bigger than Capes.
Give me some sadness.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, right.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. I'm Zach. This is our April 2022 roundup of comics and such. And I'm joined by Angela, Matt and Will. Collectively, Angela, Matt and Will.
Yeah, that's true. We are a collective.
We're a thruple.
A quapple.
Well, I don't know. It feels like, are we the backing singers? Is it Zach and the Angela,
yeah.
Matt and Will?
Collectively.
We're like the blockheads.
Interesting that Ian Jury and the Blockheads is the reference you're making. But all
We're
right.
the Stooges.
I feel good about it. I'll be
I
honest.
don't want to be Iggy. Fuck that. Just taking a twist very early on, hasn't it?
Okay. We're the
Very
four,
much.
we're the seasons
We're the
of
shadows.
Frankie Valley.
You're Cliff Richard and
No.
we're the Shadows.
Shadow.
Also not a Cliff Richard
We
fan. This
saw-
is going for.
we
I would
saw that
I'd
album.
take Ian Jury.
Oh, if you thought I was trying to pick
Yeah.
people you were a fan of, you're sorely mistaken.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Now this makes more.
You're talking
sense.
and we're the heads.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's
if they
my
were talking in the heads, that's a whole different
A whole different thing.
experience.
Or you could be the, and we'll be the.
For some reason, the next place I was going to go was Devon the O's, but
Oh, you could be me first and we'll be the gimme gimme.
so
Comic podcast.
for the
Yeah.
next minute at least. How is everyone? I think was the question on the table.
Yeah, I'm very good. Cheers, mum.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I have an identity crisis about my backing singer status, but I'm fine otherwise.
Yeah,
What would your choice be?
I don't know, come back to me. I'll have
Yeah,
a think.
a Shirelle?
I don't know, I quite like the
Um,
Shadows.
The Shadows, yeah. I'm struggling
Yeah.
to think of more like backing bands off the top of my head.
I believe Dylan had the band.
Yeah.
Neil Young had Crazy Horse.
Mm,
Was Buddy Holly the Crickets?
yes.
Yeah,
That's good. I like that
Who
one.
was it who had the Comets?
Bill Haley,
Bill Haley.
That's great.
And
as
Herman
well.
had his Hermits.
Yeah.
indeed.
My dad played in a, sorry, this is totally off topic, but my dad played in a tribute band. Like a sort of wedding band called Dip Dazzle and the Indicators.
Oh, that's
pretty good.
That's just
That's
a corker,
good.
innit? It's a shame it's
Um,
taken because that is an absolute beast.
That's really
So
good.
we're renaming the podcast.
I had a college gig years ago where a guy called Rick, without realizing what was happening, got introduced as Rick and the Rickets.
That's good.
I'm still not sure he understood what the joke was, but
Rick and his Rickets.
that might be better.
But yeah,
Right,
no,
I think-
I've been good. I've had like 2 weeks of LARP in a row, so I'm not broken.
If you were wondering which one of us is the biggest nerd, I think now.
I think there's your answer. What
Yeah.
do you consistently LARP as the same thing, or do you have like a palette?
They're different systems, so it's
Right.
like different characters and stuff, different settings.
Are there any
I-
rules to stop you having a crossover character?
I mean, technically, no. I suppose I could play the same character in different settings.
I think I've found what's going to get me into LARP.
Oh, shit.
When you're like
Do it.
post-apocalyptic, like android soldier from the future versus like orcs.
I mean, you know, if it ain't broken.
You into
Yeah.
it now?
Maybe that should be a more open, like, role-playing thing, you know? Just constantly cross over nightmarish characters that don't work.
Eventually, you'll hit gold.
We already do this podcast, Zach. I think they get enough of Nightmare as characters.
Oh dear.
I like to think we all bring our own special nightmares to the table, though.
Our own personal demons.
Speaking of nightmares, Angela, I believe you got some comic book news.
Speaking of nightmares,
I know. Actual comic book news on a comic book podcast. So this came out, it may have been last week. Let me just check the date of this article. April the 14th. So, you know, we're within a fortnight limit, so I figure it's still kind of news. And it was broken by Deadline, of all people. So IDW is doing 9 new original comic book projects. And they're going to start in July. So it's, I can't remember, it's got a fancy hashtag. Which you can probably find on Twitter. But anyway, it's like IDW Originals, I think, hashtag. So they're various things. I think the idea is that IDW Entertainment Group are also, and why do people not learn, looking at adapting them for film, television, and other mediums. They have had they have had some success in the past with Lock and Key and We Own a Rep and all of that sort of stuff. So the creators, they've got quite a lineup. They've got Dark Space's Wildfire, a thriller series written by Scott Snyder with art by Hayden Sherman, about female inmate firefighters deep in the California hills. Yeah, where their desperate heist of a burning mansion will lead them to the score of a lifetime or a deadly trap.
Oh, no, that's kind of cool. Heisting a burning mansion.
Heisting and burning mansions. True G.I.L.T, I have pronounced that badly. That's a 5-issue series written by Scott Bryant Wilson with art by Liana Kangas, which is about Marty Tarantella, a down-on-his-luck loser whose last-ditch scheme to escape a lifetime of fast food service sets him on a collision course with a cult of violent devil-worshipping lunatics. As you do.
Wait, what was this called?
True G.I.L.T.
I have this. I have True Cult. This was real. This was a Kickstarter. I have this.
Ah, there you go. Well, IDW have poached it from the Kickstarter and are now publishing it.
I was really sure that was going to go Black Mask because everyone involved has previously worked for Black Mask, and it looks like a Black Mask book, and
sounds
cool.
Yeah, there you go. Then you've got Crashing, which is a 5-issue miniseries by Matthew Klein with Morgan Bean on art. It opens the doors of an emergency room filled with the casualties of a superhuman war, where Rose Osler, a doctor on her own path of addiction and recovery, faces the most dangerous day of her medical career.
That could be pretty good.
Yeah. Earth Divers is an ongoing by Stephen Graham Jones with art by David Gianfelice, which is about 4 Indigenous survivors in an apocalyptic near future as they embark on a one-way mission to save the world by travelling back in time to kill Christopher Columbus and prevent the foundation of America. Dead Seas, which is a 6-issue miniseries written by Cavan Scott with art by Nick Brokenshire. It transforms a cynical convict into a reluctant hero when he's trapped on a sinking prison ship swarming with ghosts. Can he unite criminals, pirates, and guards to escape a watery grave? Golgotha Motor Mountain, 5-issue miniseries by Matthew Ehrman and Lonnie Nadler with art by Ryan Lee. A redneck motor massacre about 2 meth-cooking brothers and their attempt to make it home in one piece as cosmic alien horrors are hot on their trail. Interesting mix. Arca, which is a graphic novel by Van Jensen with art by Jesse Longeran, leaves a dying Earth behind. Billionaires establish a luxury new society out among the stars, tended to by teenage indentured servants, but one girl discovers the good life promised for their servitude was a lie. The Sin Bin, 6-issue miniseries by Robbie Thompson with art by Molly Murakami. It's about a washed-up hockey player, Dale Dukenesque, who moonlights as a monster hunter during away games with his daughter in tow, hoping to find her mother's killer. And finally, The Hunger in the Dusk, a 12-issue series by G. Willow Wilson with art by Chris Wildgoose, upends an age-old conflict between humans and orcs by introducing a new and deadlier species. There you go. So there's something for everyone there.
It is a real mix of like different genres and different lengths as well, ongoings and some limited.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this is a response to losing G.I. Joe, and they're losing Transformers as well.
I think that's, I don't know if that's confirmed, but that was the rumor that I heard.
And did they lose Star Wars, or was that going? So I can't remember what was happening with that one.
Is at Marvel. I think they've lost the kind of Marvel action and the Star Wars action. Is that what they're called? They're like all ages books that they did.
Yeah, the all ages
ones. Them as well.
Is it adventures rather than actions?
Yeah, adventures
sounds,
that sounds more child friendly.
Action children.
Watch Spider-Man as he beats this criminal to a pulp in an alleyway.
So it sounds like they're trying to position themselves more towards Image's kind of model because they've lost their licenses then.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got Turtles.
And that's all they've ever needed.
That's all they've ever needed. I guess they still do Sonic. That's probably still that's pretty popular, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they did a hardback last year.
But Sonic's in a weird place with regards to like they're basically not allowed to do the stuff that they want to do with it anymore after some renegotiations with Sega following the Mega Man crossover they did a few years ago.
Did they make them kiss and they weren't happy about it?
Hedgehog kisses robot, yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it seems like pretty good news. Some interesting stuff.
I'm pretty interested in a lot of that, I think. IDW, if you're out there and you're listening,
Mr. IDW,
send us some books.
Yeah, we will happily review them. There are some creators there we really like, so it would be good.
Mm.
But which ones? How would you find out? Well, over at biggerthancapes.com.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that was pretty slick. I'm quite impressed.
I can find a way to work the coffee plug-in as well somewhere along the lines. I'm set. So this being our monthly roundup, and we've got quite a lot to talk about, should we start rounding up the month?
Probably should.
Yeah, probably.
So Angela, would you like to get us started?
I will. So I will start us with G.I.L.T, which is an acronym. Yes. It is published by Ahoy Comics. It is written by Alyssa Whitney. The artist is Morissette, and the letterer is Rob Steen. And G.I.L.T involves time travel, but also not. So G.I.L.T stands for the Guild of Independent Lady Temporologists, which is why it's an acronym. So the characters here, so we meet Hildy Winters and her friends Vera and Paulette back in the 1970s. And Hildy's about to marry a guy. And then we kind of fast forward to 2017, where a woman called Trista we'll call her Trista. She's coming to be like the home help for Hildy. And she comes into this apartment and finds her a very strange, weird old lady. And chaos ensues. No. Basically, it's quite difficult. I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to give you the plot, but essentially, Hildy's a time traveler who's obviously trying to fix something that happened in 1973 when it looks like she was going to get married. And Trista is along for the ride. But there's all kinds. It's a bit twisty-turny. Trista actually met her in 1973, but she didn't know she'd met her in 1973. And yeah, it kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. We finally get at the end. We get to the point where they have travelled in time, but it's a whole issue of sort of introducing the characters before then. So I was completely confused because we went from 73 to the present day, and it did take me to the end to kind of, oh yeah, I see what you're doing now. It's good. It's fine. I enjoyed it. It's a female writer. It's female characters. There is a bit of humor. There's some nice pop culture reference. Rosemary's Baby gets referenced about the creepy apartment, which is always a plus. So yeah, there's some nice references. Hildy's kind of interesting. She's sort of a weird, bitter, strange lady. Trista's sort of, she's a nice girl. Clearly cares about her job, but also finds herself stuck with this woman who, is trying to fix the past and also stabs her in the foot. Because in order to travel, you need to sort of give it a sacrifice of nice shoes. It's all it's kind of magical time travel as opposed to your scientific time travel. And there are rules which clearly have been broken. So good luck with that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know what else to say. Someone else say something.
Sup. It is an interesting one. I agree. I think it kind of does time travel in a way we don't see outside of like Doctor Doom, Morgana Le Fay doing the kind of magic time traveling. I like it, but I'm kind of struggling to explain why to myself, let alone anyone else. Yeah. There's some aspects of the art I really like. We kind of see at the start of the issue when we're in the 1970s, and then at the end, the kind of leaves linking panels together. Yeah. Which is really nice and kind of gives it a sense of movement and dynamic between panels, which I thought was cool. I think all the things I'm about to say are about art, so strap in. I also like that Hildy has a kind of infinity belt buckle and a little hourglass necklace in the character design and like clothing design, which feels like a nice detail. And then kind of got hung up on how much this looks like a book from Ahoy. I feel like they've got a very set art style of kind of classic comics, but modern, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Talking of the art for just a second and the clothing, like with the belt buckle and stuff, am I the only one who loved her wedding outfit?
Oh, it's a good outfit, yeah.
I just wanted to say I was like, oh, that's dope.
Something I don't normally sort of notice or pick out, but actually I thought just all of the clothes in this they felt like well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody looked kind of right in what they were wearing.
Yeah, there was a good mix of fashion forward and then comfy.
Yeah. I quite like this. As you say, I think it does time travel in a way that is different to the usual fare. I kind of like the mechanics of that, and again, same as Angela, I don't want to give too much away, but that you sort of, we've seen very little of it, but it appears that you don't travel back in time as you are. You inhabit yourself as you were in that time, and I think that could have some pretty interesting aspects to it. I think just the script is quite good. Like, I think the kind of patter between them and the pace of it, I think that it moves at a good, sort of a good speed. And I think I've got all the names here, but Trista, I think she's just sort of weirdly likable and kind of a bit of a fuck up, but really relatable in that way. Or already in trouble with her boss, like struggling to keep hold of her job. And I didn't absolutely love it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I wanted to say is what I like as well is these female characters aren't drawn as like conventionally attractive. Like they look like
Yeah.
real people, because so often when there's sort of a female characters involved, they're made to look, you know, all pretty and nice and all the rest of it. But yeah, they just look normal. Hooray!
Definitely. Like, they're allowed to just be people and be like, to wear clothing that, like I say, can just be described as, hey, that looks comfy as shit. Like, and like, you know, just be people and be like a bit sort of frumpy almost, like, you know, old, like to be comfortable and like old or just normal and not be kind of putting on all that effort. And yeah, like the patter is, yeah, like you were saying, Will, just something I very much enjoyed, and is clever and fun without necessarily being too overwritten, which can sometimes be a bit of a trap.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are some good little bits in the sort of exposition through the script, which I think is good. It limits having lots of narration boxes or like outwardly explaining things to you, but I think you get across like everybody's personality and situation and everything like that all gets done through the script. And yeah, I think it just has a really good flow. I've not read, I don't think, many Ahoy comics. I kind of get what you mean about it having a sort of a
House
like
style.
a house style, exactly that. But I haven't read enough for it to become like annoying yet, so that wasn't an issue for me.
I don't think it's annoying. I think it's like when you realize that Valiant tends to keep everything looking in a similar style.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some outliers. I haven't read a lot of Ahoy. I've read this. I've read The Wrong Earth, Dragonfly Man, Second Coming, a few different things. Ash and Thorn. Is Ash and Thorn a comic? If so, I've read that. If not, I haven't.
Then you should go and write it.
I'm just making a note that I'm going to write that.
Copyright
if
it's not written. If it is, then we apologise unreservedly.
Yeah.
But
there is that, yeah.
Something else about the art, like her ashtray full of cigarette stubs. I just really like that. Just like, and we see she's a chain smoker in the 70s, and it's like, yeah, still a chain smoker today. Also, like the cats. We've not mentioned the cats.
There are cats, and they're good.
Cats are very well drawn. I like that all of her decor is all 70s. Like, she even has a typewriter and novelty lights and like G-plan office chairs, and clearly like stuck in a decade, both literally and, you know, the other one.
Well said, Will.
Yeah.
Just ran out of steam.
There is all kinds of detail. Like, there's a whole thing where it's like there's a pile of files with a post-it on saying "Do not marry the man."
Yeah.
It's just nice. There's also, and then there's the joy of sex on the table as well.
I think setting up that mystery of why it's important and why meeting her as a little girl and having the yo-yo apparently is important to Hildy in some way. I think that's the sort of underlying mystery, isn't it? What's going to carry the rest of it, I guess. Yeah, pretty good. Should we do?
So I believe it's me next. With another Ahoy comic called The Wrong Earth, Fame and Fortune. So this is part of the Wrong Earth / Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man series. It's another spin-off of however many, is it 2 or 3 spin-offs we've had in like prequels now?
So we've had the main series, The Wrong Earth. We've had Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man, the spin-off. Then there's been a third one that I can't remember the name of. And now this is the second of the one-shots.
So in this instance...
Some comics.
Yeah, some comics. In this instance, it's being written by Mark Russell, with art by Michael Montenant, and colours by Andy Troy, and letters by Rob Steen. There's also a prose insert by David Hyde, with illustrations by Marco Finnegan. So the two main stories in this are Mark Russell, and in one of them in particular, boy, do you feel that this is a Mark Russell comic. And that's something that I really like. It's a short story about Richard Fame, the alter ego of Dragonfly and Dragonfly Man, on both like the Dark Knight Returns and the Adam West Earth, Alpha and Omega, trying to build a football stadium in their version of Fortune City, and how they both kind of hit the same problems and ostensibly find almost the same solutions to them reaching the same cataclysmic endpoint. I really liked this book. So like it's basically a critique of capitalism, and pointing out how there is no difference between a quote-unquote good billionaire and a bad billionaire, and the kind of tendency to use civic funding towards these sort of like money pit, like boondoggles, rather than investing in civic infrastructure under the idea that eventually it pays yourself, turning it into sort of like long shot sort of attempts, arguing that it'll bring investment back in, that it'll bring jobs and stuff, when really it's just corrupt. And yeah, it's really funny as well, like seeing the contrasting things, like seeing them both resolve union disputes. And my favorite thing about the union disputes is who the Earth Omega like Dark Knight version of the union leader looks like, which is the pro wrestler Taz. Like whenever he appeared in a panel, my brain just immediately had Jim Ross saying, "It's Taz!" And I was dying inside. But yeah, it's a genuinely like really solid dissection of the idea that it's possible to have like moral billionaires directing directing public policy and directing civic funds and stuff like. And the second story is a much more kind of like quick, sort of simple, fun look at a kind of day in the life of Dragonfly Man's sidekick Stinger, aka Chip, as he goes on a museum trip with his school and experiences the wonders of the buddy system, and also describes his encounter with the villainous Sax mummy,
mummy for life,
a mummy playing a saxophone
and wearing a cool hat and jacket.
One of my notes for this was just Sax mummy, all caps.
Yeah.
This may come as a surprise to you all, but I pretty much just agree with Matt. I think
shocking.
Shock horror. I think this is probably kind of the bleakest representation of Dragonfly Dragonfly Man so far. Like, I think in the usual series, the Alpha West style Dragonfly, off the top of my head I've forgotten which is which.
Dragonfly Man is Adam
Dragonfly
West.
Thank you. Dragonfly Man, it's hinted at that he kind of maintains the status quo, but in the main series he seems more oblivious to it. Like, he's doing it because it just, in a cartoon world, it's the right thing to do, is to save the bank manager. As we're in this, even though it is the kind of the more naive, brighter world, he's still a real bastard. And it portrays both sides, as Matt said. Like, there's no good billionaire. If you portray yourself as a philanthropist or as a tyrant, they both end up bad.
The only difference is that Dragonfly is more honest.
Yeah, he's basically just straight up about it, and it feels like what you're told politically. Let's do this thing because of all of these benefits, but it feels like there are, but behind closed doors, they're more like Earth Omega than than Earth Alpha. Yeah, I thought it was really good, and again, not surprising that the bleak one did it for me. I think the backup story is pretty fun, but the main story is the reason to get this comic for me.
See, I liked it in terms of there are no good billionaires. It's true. And also I liked the plan where it's got, like, foam stuff, more crap, $8 hot dogs, overpriced t-shirts. I thought that was a nice touch.
Women.
Yeah. The thing, I didn't love it purely because I'm like, this is very close to the bone. This is real life. This is how the world works, and I hate the way the world works.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling down about billionaires in general. Elon Musk. So sort of did not approach me in a time where I was receptive. So I completely agree with the message, and I think it's really well done, and the way that the two stories are sort of interlaced on each page. You get the alpha stuff and the omega stuff, and the fact that even, good billionaires are bad billionaires. But yeah, I just want a bit of escapism away from the crap of billionaires currently. So that's where I am. It's good. It's well made, but
much like Animal Castle, it's not for you right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Fair. Quite fair.
I think I land somewhere on this between the Angela and the Will and Matt camp. I really like the way the main story plays out, and the kind of way we see every event unfold exactly the same in each world, with just slightly different dialogue and, a slightly eviler twist.
Of heads.
Yeah. Controversially, I think I might like the backup more than the main story, though.
Yeah, that's just because of Sax Mummy.
Sax Mummy helps, and I've also... There's the kind of closing dialogue from Dragonfly Man, we don't end up in hell. We're already there.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say the bit where he just yells the buddy system is dissolved.
Also, I feel like the buddy system is ultimately, despite the Dragonfly Man closing dialogue, is more lighthearted and kind of gets away with some of the stuff we would have normally seen in the kind of Earth Alpha side of the story that we don't see in Fame and Fortune. So I think it kind of balances that tone. I agree with what Will said, that the version of Dragonfly Man we see here is a little bit more... I don't want to say, a little bit closer to the Omega version than we saw in The Wrong Earth. So I think the backup story then kind of allows Stinger to change that tone a little bit more and maintain the kind of traditional, I say traditional based on 5 issues, Wrong Earth dynamic between the two sides.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree. Yes.
I can see that.
Splendid.
I thought broadly the art was sort of solid throughout.
Yeah.
I didn't absolutely kind of love any part of it, but it was, I think, as you say, that split between the two worlds is quite a cool technique. Yeah, it was good. So.
I think the split benefits as well when things kind of start to go wrong in both worlds. That it becomes increasingly unclear which world is which.
Yeah, indeed.
It's a good way of playing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a slightly different color palette. For each one. There's a lot more the Earth Alpha is a lot more blues, and Earth Omega is a lot more reds.
Yeah.
So you're never unsure. Yeah. So who's up next?
I am up next.
Yes.
I think. Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to be introducing West of Sundown #1 from Vault. It is written by Tim Seeley and Aaron Campbell. It is drawn by Jim Terry. It is coloured by Triona Farrell, and it is lettered by Crank. I feel like we don't sell the exclamation mark enough on that, and apparently I'm going to now. So West of Sundown is kind of odd to explain, I guess. It basically tells the story of a Civil War soldier in 1861 who's burying bodies, and then one of the graves, starts ringing as you do, and he
I mean, it was a thing. People were so worried about being buried alive.
And rightly so, according to this book.
Oh, yeah, and the amount of mistakes in diagnosing people as being dead.
I mean, I think I'm 1861, I'm getting buried alive. I think that's...
Oh, an 1861 buried alive match.
There's a sport. Our soldier, let's call him Dougalé O'Shaughnessy, because that's his name. Digs himself up a vampire, as one does in the Civil War.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
Classic. Who introduces herself as Constance de Abend. That is bad accenting from Zach, I am aware.
Is it Arband?
De Abend?
Yeah, basically Constance of the Night is how you would translate it from the German, I believe.
So Constance de Abend, potentially. I don't know if I've said that 3 different ways now.
Or of the evening.
Yeah.
I feel like you're arguing semantics now about German.
Yeah,
but
I'll give it to Matt.
They both
I'm just
work.
remembering the tiny bit of German that I know.
Fledermaus.
Yeah.
Tiny bit of German.
Will. I think that's the bit we were missing.
Fledermaus.
Die Fledermaus.
I didn't even say that right.
Right, we're interrupting Zach. Continue, Zach.
I'm feeling very interrupted.
Okay, so the ring cycle.
Basically, then we fast forward 10 years to where Constance and Dougalé are kind of occupying New York. That sounds wrong. No, they're in New York now. It's 10 years later.
Much like the Muppets, they have taken Manhattan.
Muppets, Jason, Constance, and Dougalé. Yeah, classic progression. They're in New York, and they've kind of set up a great system where Dougalé picks out the people who deserve a bit of a biting, and then Constance does some biting, and they're just killing off bad people. Fair play, I say. Then their house gets burnt down, and because of such things, Constance has to be rushed back to her homeland, which I don't know about everybody else. I was thinking could be Germany.
Yeah.
However, instead it's just Los Angeles.
Well, it's where she was turned.
Yes, I guess that's the fine line here is, But I was expecting we were going to get like a boat ride to Europe, kind of a reverse Dracula kind of deal.
Yeah, sort of a return
I was.
to.
That's what I thought at first, but yeah.
Instead, it's apparently a 3-month boat ride from New York to LA, which seems.
Should have just got a plane.
Believable, actually, if you consider like that some of the inland routes weren't available yet.
True.
But you can't sail all around. I'm assuming. I mean, did they go north around Canada?
That's what
Did they go that way?
It'll be like
many questions.
I assumed you just went down to like Mexico and hopped off there, walk up.
Jump off one boat, walk across, jump on another.
Hang on, there's a map.
Mexico's not that wide. You can just.
There's a map. There's a page with a map on it showing where they go.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, you're
I'm pretty sure
right.
I'm smart enough to realise that.
Literally they go down past Mexico, around South America, down the bottom of South America, and then upward.
Do you know who's very smart?
Me.
It's us. We're all very smart.
So she doesn't get off in Mexico and walk up. Well,
no, but she gets off in. Is that Chile? Is she in Chile? Then she walk up from Chile. This is very unclear.
I thought they were going to Los Angeles.
According to this map, it
says it's a 90-day journey to Los Angeles, and then she goes to Chile.
That's Chile or Peru.
Peru, yeah, it could be Peru, but yeah, basically, yeah.
Anyway, geography and ocean travel clearly not within our wheelhouse. Constance and Dooley get to where they're going, and basically that's where this issue ends, with them traveling quite a lot under the impression that they're being hunted by vampire hunters, I guess is the brand of hunter you normally get hunting vampires.
I did pop when you got the final page reveal.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away, but as a last page reveal, it's
pretty.
It's a shock. It's a surprising one. I kind of went back and forth on this. I'm a big Tim Seeley fan. I don't know if that's been mentioned previously on the podcast at all. So I tend to be into most of what he does, especially the weird horror, weird sci-fi is kind of his strengths and kind of what I'm also into. So that works. Here, I don't know. It's kind of a different take on a vampire story, because it's not just, hey, you've dug me up, I'm going to bite you. It's more, I think there's more thought put into it than just vampire doing vampire stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting that she was trying to like sleep out the Civil War, and there's little details that kind of make this more interesting than the main story so far. I think it feels like a very establishing first issue, but I think the story being told has potential to get really interesting really fast. We're also told that Constance is like the second best vampire behind Dracula, which seems relatively high on the pecking order.
In terms of the Vampire League, she's right up there.
Oh yeah, she's at the top of the league, clearly. I mean,
Dracula's top, but she's clearly above the playoffs. So she's automatic promotion.
Could be, Angela. I don't know what any of these words mean.
A real good grasp of sport there.
Sport references.
Yeah, she's second seed in everything.
Yeah.
Anyone got any words they'd like to say?
Yeah. Am I the only one who ever gets Tim Seeley and Tom Scioli mixed up?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I was just thinking about G.I. Joe versus Transformers and American Barbarian, and I was going, ha ha ha, two-tank Carmoon, who is a giant mummy who has tanks for feet. But yeah, sorry. So this book, yeah, I really quite enjoyed this. I mean, admittedly, like, I decided how much I liked it with the final page reveal, because the final page reveal really kind of set tone that I expect going forward.
Yeah.
And kind of gave a potential 19th century Gothic literature smackdown, like potential feel to the rest of the book. Like I find that kind of exciting and fun in a sort of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen sort of way. Up until that point, I really enjoyed it, and I think that I think the art's pretty wonderful. The main cover of the kind of like movie poster, washed out kind of colors, sort of is great, and like I like Constance's design throughout as it kind of changes through the series is like my favorite thing in this book, because we see kind of the like how she always has like motifs to everything she wears, whilst still sort of changing. Like there's, whether it be colors or sort of like little bits of like lace and stuff in specific places, there's little bits always there that I like, that are like good sort of color theory type stuff. Like I said, I think I'm more excited for where it's going than for where it gets to, almost, in this issue. But I quite enjoyed it.
I liked it before the reveal at the end. I was just enjoying the fact you've got a vampire who's going around killing evildoers.
Yeah.
I just like that concept. And Dooley's kind of interesting as well, because he's fallen in with a vampire, as you do, but he seems to have this like moral code. But he obviously, he's very attached to Constance, because he rushes into a burning building to help, drag her out of there, and then he sits on a coffin all the way, and he very nearly kills a man for her, but then he decides no. So yeah, I really liked. I like things with vampires in, and this is a good thing with a vampire in, and therefore I enjoyed it. I especially liked the bit where she's doing the singing.
Yes.
And you've got that in the middle, and then surrounding it, you've got the fact that she's murdered a bad man, and they're going to use lie to just get rid of the body completely.
I appreciate how, like, about Dooley, how he's like he's a Renfield, ostensibly, who has a degree of actual control in the relationship. It's actually seems like a consensual and like almost equal partnership.
Yeah, and I think she sees it more like that as well. He's not just like her servant. So, well, he is, but also it's not that she doesn't treat him like dirt.
There's the question. I mean, she highly values dirt, as we find out in this series. But no, there's the question of how consensual that sort of relationship can really be with such a power differential. But it's still really interesting. Like, that's the thing I enjoy the exploration of more than so playing this partially on my history with the Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game and stuff like the various World of Darkness type things, the kind of vampire who kills bad people thing isn't necessarily anything that I haven't seen explored to like vampire as kind of superhero vigilante kind of thing isn't something I haven't seen a lot of, but I really like their relationship and I want to see that explored. Like I say, like I'm a bit quick to say like that it was the last page that really sold me on it, but what I mean by that is that set a tone that I want, like, for me to know what to expect going forward, I think, rather than selling me on it. Because that I want to see that relationship explored. And I want to see how the pressure that they're under affects it. And whether it can withstand that.
All right. I'm going to be the slightly dissenting voice.
To the surprise of no one.
I did like the art. I agree there. I think the colour's really, really nice in the art. There's kind of a sunsetty bit towards the end where it's just like, looks like just red crayon, just like scribbled on the back, but it's really effective. Yeah. I also agree that the front cover is great. This is a comic that I might have just bought for the cover. I think that almost like movie poster ink lines, and yeah, it's really great. But as you know, vampires are not generally my thing, and for it to catch on for me, I think I need it to be a pretty, I don't know, pretty original or pretty side-on view of kind of vampires and stuff. And this, it just sort of wasn't that. I think it's relatively traditional kind of vampire in its setting and in its kind of mythos, with, as Matt said, with the dirt. And yeah, it's clearly like good. It just does nothing for me. So it's quite hard to talk about because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but I just don't get anything from it. That's it. That's all I got.
I think that's fair.
Because I don't want to really criticize it. I say it's a really nice looking book, but I don't know. I grew up in a time when vampires were just constant.
Yeah.
It was everything, and I was sick of it. And it's like those little seafood, the little seafood sticks. They're nice until you've had 30 of them in a row. Then you never want to see one again. And that's how I feel about vampires.
I thought we grew up at the same time. What?
No,
How is your life so different from mine?
He's a little bit older, not much, but a little.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you missed it. Basically, all of the 2000s was just fucking wall-to-wall vampire.
I know, Queen of the Damned. Were you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The greatest vampire film of a generation.
The Underworld franchise, Twilight. I mean, you
watch your mouth.
But all of these vampire franchises and films were worth it. Even the worst ones, like like Ultraviolet, were worth it.
I forgot about Ultraviolet.
The original series of Ultraviolet was good, and I will not hear anything else from that. The film, but the series they did was good.
But all of it was worth it, just for Blade, like with Wesley Snipes saying that some motherfuckers always got to try skate uphill. That makes everything worth it. That.
Yeah.
But even they went downhill after the first one.
What about that one where Willem Dafoe and Ethan Hawke are vampires? You had to be into that, right?
I mean, that rings no bells, but...
I want to say that was Daybreakers.
Daybreakers
is good.
I think
Daybreakers is a good high concept.
It's good. It's good.
Mm.
And Willem Dafoe is great. Like,
in general.
I rewatched Streets of Fire recently, and seeing Willem Dafoe in like a PVC romper walking out of a blazing building looking like Satan himself.
I just watched that one scene from Spider-Man 2 of him going, "Avenge me!"
Yes.
Just that on a loop.
Got a friend who claims that Dafoe was snubbed for an Oscar because he should have got it for that.
Of all of his roles, that is definitely the one that he should be.
Yeah.
The highest accolade should go for the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else is fine, but come on, that's the highlight.
Yeah. True.
It's the reason a generation likes him so much. This generation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You can see us all right now. I think it's Will's turn to talk about a comic.
That's right.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Willem Dafoe, which, you know.
The comic I've got is Willem Ever After. No, the comic I'm introducing is Alice Ever After from Boom Studios. It is created and written by Dan Panosian, is illustrated by Giorgio Spalletta and Dan Panosian. It's coloured by Fabiana Mascolo, and it's lettered by Jeff Eckelberry. It is sort of the story of a grown-up Alice from Alice in Wonderland, living a somewhat kind of delinquent lifestyle, despite being the daughter of in a wealthy family, and sort of sets up the fact that Wonderland was and always has been a drug-induced hallucination. Fire.
Sorry, I was posting that because I put the picture of Willem Dafoe in Streets of Fire in the chat, so I had to put a fire gif, and I was trying to get a devil just as well.
I don't want to derail it, but just every time you say it, I have this brief flash of an alternate reality where Willem Dafoe's in a Streets of Rage film. That's all shot in 2D. It's just Willem Dafoe walking left to right for the entire film.
Yeah. Well, no, Willem Dafoe is clearly Mr. X. He's clearly the baddie.
That's true. Yeah, that's probably fair. But Alice Ever After, I didn't really get on with this. I quite like the concept, this idea of the sort of like after the fairy tale, the children have grown up and how their lives have been affected by it, or whether they are still affected by it. But I found this to be really wordy and quite slow, and it spent a lot of time kind of in the real world. Maybe it's a necessity to set up everything else for later on. But I didn't feel a big pull by the end of this to keep reading. I don't think I really liked Alice as a character. I didn't really feel any need to root for her, or anybody in her family. Earl Proud seems like, and his niece Chloe probably seem like the nicest people that we meet. And I'm not sure Chloe says anything. That's nice of her not to say anything. So yeah, I don't know. I just I think I wanted to like this one and bounced off it a bit.
Same. I thought it was a really interesting concept. Turns out Alice is just a druggie. That's basically how it goes. I think that's the problem, is no one in this is particularly likable at all, apart from the silent niece and Earl Proud, who seems like a nice chap who belongs in a better book. Yeah, and it's such a confusing concept because it does basically sort of give you the, Alice is a drug addict. But there are cats.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. It's narrated by cats, which is always a bonus. But when a cat's called Kitty, I think that's not really a very imaginative name, is it? Snowdrop, fine, but a cat. To be fair, my nan had a cat called Cat, so there you are. But Kitty, yeah. I mean, you can't get any more basic. So yeah, I think, and it was also confusing. Like, is Wonderland real or is it just drugs? And is Alice actually just living in her own little drug-induced hallucination? Was she given drugs as a child?
It does say that.
Yeah, she was given drugs as a child, and so she just escapes into the drugs. And there's some interesting concepts there, but it's like, I don't know, I always found Alice in Wonderland a weird book as a kid. The Disney film isn't great. There's no Cheshire Cat in this. But yeah, it just seems like an interesting concept, but everyone in it is so unlikable. I just can't get on board with it. And I just want to slap Alice and just take her to rehab a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, no, didn't do it for me either.
I don't think they play with that idea of whether or not Wonderland is real or in her head is a drug-induced thing enough. Like, I think there's a thing you can weave in there about, is it in her head or is it genuinely real? And I think, I mean, we literally see her take drugs, pass out, and then turn up in Wonderland. I must say, like, I think the art for those 3 pages are probably the best looking bit of the book. In Wonderland, I think it's pretty nice art through that bit. But yeah, I don't know what its kind of direction is. I guess I don't know what it's sort of trying to say, or what is it setting up a mystery? It doesn't feel like it.
I'm kind of in a similar state to what Will has just said, and in turn what Angela's just said. I know this is drawing on Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and all that stuff, but I also feel like from the very start, like I'm missing something massive to explain.
Yeah.
What and why and how and.
Yeah, a bit of an expectation. You know some of these characters, and
yeah, just
I didn't.
I kind of see that there are characters who look similar to characters from Wonderland, and I kind of could see the tie there of, the drugs making her hallucinate these people and she's turning them into animals and whatnot. I get all the kind of, and that's before we kind of get the end where we have more people who legitimately are just dressed as Wonderland characters. But I feel like there's something in the telling that is missing, and it kind of makes me think about Dan Panosian's other book, An Unkindness of Ravens, was quite good and kind of, I don't know, The Craft meets Mean Girls, I think was the way it was described. But every issue of that started with like a good couple of pages of like solid, here's the background, here's what I'm talking about, here's the history of the world we're in. And here I'm kind of feeling like, even though we've seen so many versions of Alice in Wonderland, do we still need a kind of info dump of, hey, this is what this is, just to add a little bit more context to this interpretation? Although I appreciate that it is a first issue, so maybe all that'll come good later. On a more Zach complaint, I'm pretty sure this is meant to be in England.
Yes.
And yet someone says sidewalk at some point, and at that point I died a little bit inside. That was a bit overdramatic, but
it's true.
No one in England has ever said sidewalk.
No.
We don't know what it means.
No, we'll say all kinds of crap. We'll say pavement, we'll say tarmac, we'll say literally anything you want, but sidewalk ain't one of them. This is like Angela with the sash windows.
It is, isn't it?
I don't know if anyone read that review other than me and Angela, but
the creative team did, and they still like my tweets, so bless them. But yeah, it actually feels very aesthetically American as well. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel like it's set in England. There is so much.
Get it in the shop. Did the shop and like the layout look American to you?
Yeah, and the house she's going back to is clearly the Munsters' house.
Which, if I had my way, is what every house would look like.
Yeah, but it's very much actually, it's reminds me of Homesick Pilots in that it is that American stuff. We don't have houses like that in this country. This architecture's all wrong. I mean, I'll take sash windows over that. It just doesn't. But yeah, even the fashion just screams continent as opposed to, or even America as opposed to
Bonnie old
England and Europe. It's just yeah. There's so much wrong here. Yeah. There we go. Rant over. It's all wrong.
To find a little bit of positive, I think those 3 pages in Wonderland are the best looking, but I actually think the art is pretty strong throughout. Like, I've got no problems with the art in general.
Yeah.
There are a few little nice touches, like on a few pages the cats are playing with a ball of string or like hanging off the edge of a panel, and there's a moment where she gets an idea and instead of a light bulb going off there's like a candle lighting.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a sort of amusing little nod. So there were a couple of, like, I don't know, fun bits that when you see them, they were quite amusing. But yeah, I just found it to be a little bit directionless, I guess.
Yeah.
So
have we used all the words up?
I think we've used all of the words in the English language. Oh wait, hippopotamus. That was one more.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah. Floor tiles.
Yeah.
Just looking around the room now.
Yeah. Were you as confused as the rest of us, Matt?
I was less confused and just
more bewildered.
Just not that
flabbergasted.
Interested, unfortunately. Like, I feel like a lot of this is fairly well trodden ground. The what if, like, a fairy tale but fucked up is something that's been done a lot, and I like Panosian quite often. And I think that the art is generally pretty solid, if very American in the designs and layouts, like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't do anything for me, unfortunately. Apologise, I've not got more to say.
I think we've said it all.
Yeah, I think, I took that particular route with West of Sundown, so hard to criticise you for it now.
So, shall we move on to the rankings?
The ranking.
Not happy with that phrasing, but yeah.
I'm happy to go first since I skipped out on going first for the for actually the reading. So in 4th place, surprising no one given last statements, is Alice Ever After. Like I say, it just, apart from the art being pretty great in spots, it didn't do much for me. In 3rd is G.I.L.T. I really quite liked this. It's like chatty and funny, with some great clothes, and some like just charming feeling characters. And I am again just more interested in, like with my next pick, more interested in where it's going. I think I think this series is going to be really fun, and I look forward to reading it in trade. 2nd place is West of Sundown. It's really, really good, to put it like simply. It has an uncommon sort of relationship dynamic between a between like a vampire and her servant, and like has just intriguing characters that I want to know more about. And then there's that last page reveal where I'm like, yeah, buddy. And in first place is The Wrong Earth, Fame and Fortune. There's no good billionaire.
Mic drop.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
All right. I'll jump in there because mine is not dissimilar. Fourth place is Alice Ever After. Just didn't really get it. But third place for me is West of Sundown. Again, just can't be doing with vampires, to be honest with you. Second play is G.I.L.T. I quite like the sort of magic-based time travel and some of the limitations that seems to put on that. I think could lead to some fun storytelling. The art was good, the script was good, G.I.L.T. is good. But my top one is the same as you, Matt. It's Fame and Fortune. It's politically bleak and po-faced, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and also it's tires.
I mean, I didn't get a lot from that. I'll be honest with you.
Everyone did. It's fine. Zach had to put up with me talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't in that conversation either. So
no, exactly. That's why I feel it's only fair that I inflict it upon you as well, so that Zach doesn't feel targeted.
No. I honestly thought I was part of that conversation earlier to spare everyone now, but what do I know?
No, your sacrifice was in vain.
Like a lightning rod.
Angela, do you want to go, or do you want me to?
I can go. It's fine. So
sure.
The last one's Alice, because all the reasons already mentioned. It's confusing and weird, and yeah, maybe it would have made more sense if I'd have taken drugs beforehand, but I didn't. So there we are.
It didn't help.
And now, in a controversial move, in third place, I'm going with The Wrong Earth.
No.
Purely because I appreciate its message that all billionaires are bad, but I don't need it in my life right now. I'm not a misery lover. I think
you are a misery lover, and we all know
but
it.
very specific misery. This is not my brand of misery. Crying. Yeah, no, it's not my brand of misery. Crying robots and cyborgs.
Crying dinosaurs.
Crying dinosaurs. It's true. I appreciate it. I thought it was well put together. It was nicely drawn. The paneling was really clever. I thought it was good, but the backup was, for me, more enjoyable because Zach's mummy. And I felt the tone. Mummy. The tone was also closer, I felt, to the Wrong Earth originally. And then then it's a bit close for me. So second, I'm going to go West of Sundown because I really enjoyed it and I like vampires. And it was a good vampire tale. And I think there's some potential there. The characters are interesting. It's clearly it was a good introduction to those characters and sort of that setup. And at number one, I'm going with G.I.L.T. Even though I didn't sound terribly enthusiastic earlier. I like to do this to you.
It's a difficult book to describe.
Yeah, it's really difficult to describe, but I enjoyed it. I liked the references. I liked the characters. I liked their interaction. I think the time travel setup is really clever. It's nice art. It's good book. There we go.
Good book. So finally then, it's Zach.
I didn't enjoy that.
That's going to be a thing.
Fan out.
So
survive. Listen to his list if you can. Survive.
Survive if I let
you. Yeah.
I don't.
I'm sorry.
If anyone's unsure about Taz's work, Google him. It's Taz with one Z.
He's been affected by.
He's friends.
He's been affected by Taz.
He's friends with a man in a mask called Excalibur.
Who isn't?
And a man not in a mask called Michael Cole.
thought you were going to say
I
Ricky
work with
Starks.
Michael Cole. Good guy.
Know him well.
Anyway, my list. Fourth is it's obviously Alice Ever After. You've all said all the things. There's not much else to say. I think it could get interesting. I think this first issue just has a lot of chaos about it, and it could all tie together at some point. I just don't know if that point's going to be next issue or if it's going to be like it'll make sense in trade.
Yeah.
3 is The Wrong Earth, Fame and Fortune.
You motherfucker.
I don't take this as personally as Matt seems to.
No, clearly. I think it's a good addition to the universe, and I think it says something about both versions of Richard Fame that we perhaps haven't had said before. I also think the backup, the buddy system, is gold.
Sax Mummy.
Yeah, Sax Mummy for life. I'm just gonna keep saying Sax Mummy for life. What was it last time? Zombie Beatles for life.
It's
what was it last time? Why did we have a last time?
It's the Kids Love Chains of 2022.
Why do we keep making up this bullshit?
I think it's a good issue. I'm going to use the same complaint I have made for No One Left to Fight 2 or Kill Lock.
Yeah.
2 more Kill Lock.
Return of the Kill Lock.
Yeah.
Kill Lock.
Or that other sequel we did last time. I don't know. Whilst it's a good one shot, I think it is quite dependent on having read the previous stuff. In 2, I'm going to go G.I.L.T, I think. It's good. It's really good. I'm going to read more of it. I like the art, and I like the idea of trying to do something different with time travel and kind of make it about magic and inhabiting your previous body, like Logan in the Days of Future Past film or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking of X-Men, like Days of Future Past stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I think it's a requirement.
Yeah, about it.
Sure, Matt, you've read the comic. La-dee-da.
Shut up!
I've seen the cover.
I've seen a parody of the cover.
I've seen 100 parodies of the cover.
But I like the possibility. I think it's interesting to do a comic that's not got the traditional kind of protagonists, and to have we're going to have the kind of older woman and the slightly less older woman, and then the
30-something and a little girl.
Yeah, it's not what you normally get, especially in time travel stories. Time travel stories seem to be drawn towards male protagonists, like, I don't know, 90+% of the time.
I'm looking forward to, because I like the sort of like Golden Gale character from Black Hammer.
Yeah.
The idea of an adult's brain in a child's body and how you sort of react to the world differently as people like patronize you.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic to have, and yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to do that in the 1970s with time travel. Sweet. And then number 1, I'm going to go West of Sundown. Unlike Will, I am a vampire guy.
You got bitten by it, huh?
Thanks for that.
I'll see you all next week. Anybody out there?
Art good, writing good, colouring good. Cliffhanger, last page reveal, baffling but good. I feel like we could get into a kind of universal horror kind of space. That might also be what I'm hoping for more than what we're actually going to get. But hey, so yeah, Vampire's good. I think one thing that does detract from West of Sundown a little bit is that it has also come out the same month as Christian Ward's new vampire series, Bloodstained Teeth.
I preferred this to Bloodstained Teeth. Unpopular opinion. Possibly.
I think I do prefer this. I think this has got more of a broad concepts, like the possibilities seem broader here, even though I liked Bloodstained Teeth. And I understand that the thing here is that if you release your first issue in April, your trade's going to be out in time for Halloween. I understand how comics work.
Makes sense.
So all the horror series that are new have to kind of start this month or next. That makes sense to me. But I don't know. I think a lot of people will go Bloodstained Teeth and should probably also entertain this idea. Vampire's good.
Yeah.
Choose the right vampires for you. Don't be afraid to shop around your vampire options. I don't know where I'm going with this. I've kind of made this into a weird compare the market kind of compare the vampires. I don't know. That's me. I'm out.
Peace out.
Done.
Vampires for life.
Vampires for life.
Sax Mummy for life, vampires for life, zombie beetles for life.
So if you got Sax Mummy, we're talking like trumpet vampire, drums Frankenstein.
I was going to go drum werewolf, but I'll take
drum
werewolf.
Yeah, I was going to say, where's the werewolf in this?
Frankenstein's tall. He's got
There are lots of instruments.
It's right there.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
So it works, right?
Mm.
well,
Piano
actually,
Ghost.
what you're talking about there was the Doctor. What you're thinking of is Frankenstein's drummer.
All right, well played.
Yeah, very good.
Frankenstein humor.
Yeah.
The horror.
So I think that's all we've got, unless
I
someone's got
think
something
it
to
is.
throw in.
Yeah.
Nothing more from me.
No, all good for me.
Yep.
Well, in that case, this has been our April 2022 Indie Comics Roundup. Collectively, we have been Angela, Matt, Will, and Zach, bigger than capes, and we will continue to be. And remember that comics are bigger than
Money.
capes. Oh, Sax Mummy.